the ethos of the Islamic Revolution of '79 of Ruhollah Khomeini, and then the gang, and it is a gang round Ali Khamenei. It's a club, it's a clique, it's a mafioso group of Ayatollahs on the one hand who reach into certain parts of the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard Corps. They can only sustain it for so long.
I'm conscious that time is against us, and as ever, I could sort of sit and record with you for hours. Do the
I don't believe in
I,
podcasts, by the way.
well, look, I want to sort of just get your take in our last few minutes together on Iran, please. I know you've got some real expertise, and I I find it quite interesting. The Iranian response is necessarily bullish when you've got the Abe Lincoln carrier group bearing down on you. You've probably got no option but to sort of stand tough. But is it just rhetoric, or actually do you think the Iranians can credibly see a way to hold off the might of the United States?
Well, the Abraham Lincoln isn't. Do you remember on that deck, famously the words "mission accomplished" were pronounced by George W. Bush. Now the problem is, if the Abe Lincoln was serious, it would have another one beside it, and they can do it, but it's a pinprick. They can only do. It'll be very much a 10 or 12-day bombing or whatever that they saw. To come off that, Iran is beginning to emerge as a wicked problem. A problem with no obvious solution. And it's for this reason. And I was listening to the broadcast about it today because of the talks beginning with Witkoff again. Again, it's not going to be a deal about this and about that. Very interesting the way the Iranians are trying to screw down the agenda to be only about uranium enrichment and potential nuclear power. They don't want to talk about missiles, of which they have an extremely, well, an ominously capable force of missiles and attack drones. And that is the point. And that's when America, Israel, and allies will have to react. If it looks as if they're going to go for a saturation attack, where you get hundreds in the air, then it is a big threat to Israel, to the UK bases in Cyprus, the bases all up and down the Gulf. And it looks as if they are preparing for something, because you only need 12 of the big ones to get through on Israel, and it's really, really very serious. It threatens so much of the future. So that would be the trigger, but there is no answer. Regime change is not on the cards because there's no regime to change it to. And it's such a complexity of the way things are arranged, and it's security and fear and official fear in depth. And you have these interlocking things. They're not even a unified force, the Revolutionary Guard force, but they do deals amongst each other. But what we're not focusing on, and I think that this will blow the whole thing up, is how dire the economy is, but also conditions of life in so many parts of Iran. We're not hearing nearly enough about the effects of climate change, desertification, Tehran running out of water, people actually starving. I don't mean to be facetious about this, because this triggers a lot of the peripheral insurgencies, because it is quite clear the chronic Baluch nationalist insurgency is going on and is very serious. The calculations from very responsible people like Ali Ansari and their equivalent inside the FCDO, where we have real expertise, is this can go on for quite a bit. But the regime is drawing in itself. And one very serious diplomat with absolute hands-on experience put it to me: I give it 5 weeks, 5 months, or 5 years, and they may be able to tough it out for 5 years. But really, this regime, because the ethos of the Islamic Revolution of '79 of Ruhollah Khomeini, and then the gang, and it is a gang round Ali Khamenei. It's a club, it's a clique, it's a mafioso group of Ayatollahs on the one hand who reach into certain parts of the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard Corps. They can only sustain it for so long. it's a fascinating and really rather terrifying example because it's a big country, 92 million, third largest oil and gas reserves in the world, second largest gas, if you could really look at it. And that means something, and it isn't working. And it hasn't got a currency that functions. And so we're on eggshells. And I think Trump, curiously, I don't know who's behind it. I suspect it's his son-in-law, above all, and saying, go carefully, go carefully. They're positioning things like the Abe Lincoln, but so has the UK, so has France, and we're up for the defense of the Cyprus bases because they're an international asset, the defense of, for us, the defense of Jordan, for the French protection of Syria. But a thing that when I put it to John Healey last year, how vulnerable we were there, and he just sloughed it off and said I was talking nonsense and nobody had mentioned to him. I think the Straits of Hormuz are really very worrying because they're doing live firing exercises. They'd hinted at mining, and they've hijacked 2 tankers in the last 24 hours there.
I know for all of the chat from the clean energy lobby, I think people forget just that the Straits of Hormuz remains every bit as geostrategically important as it's been for decades, and we ignore it at our peril. Robert Fox, defense editor of Evening Standard. It has been a pleasure to have you on Superpowers again. Please come back again soon to talk more. Everybody always enjoys dipping into your expertise and the vast experience you have around the world of following conflict, and therefore few people better qualified really to discuss how the world should respond.
I really do enjoy it too.
Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind. Well, look, come back and watch more Superpowers next week, but also make sure you subscribe to the channel for more of the Trump Report and Frontline as well. But for now, I'm James Heapy. Robert Fox, thank you very much. See you next week. Goodbye.